So this year's Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductees, you've got a bunch of artists that have been eligible for about 10 or 15 years, and then you have Public Enemy, who are getting in their first year of eligibility.
You have to have accepted a long time ago that Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is not literal. That doesn't mean only rock and roll.
What I like about this list is that it really represents a range of what popular music is these days and what rock and roll is.
Public Enemy was able to reach across race lines, reach across ethnicities, colors, all those boundaries, and speak to anyone who had a rebellious streak in them.
They were able to show the anger of the black community and put it on record.
At the peak of their game, there was no band in any genre that felt more important than Public Enemy did.
They represent a certain kind of hip-hop at its highest level. It was kind of socially conscious, provocative, the sound was amazing.
They mashed up music, just did what nobody else did before. They had a message, the music was just loud and screaming with sirens and Chuck's voice and Flavor Flav. It was just a dream. They deserve to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
When Public Enemy first mentioned Anthrax in the record, it was cool. Racks were Anthrax, still they could rock bells. And everybody was cool with it. So they were able to bridge gaps.
If you're talking about, the 1% of the artists who really changed the game, Public Enemy has to be on that list.
A Monday warrior, mean strike. Today's Tom Sawyer, mean pride.
Let's just get this out of the way. Rush are insanely talented.
Rush were never a critics band.
This is something that needed to be represented.
Every single person who talks about Neil Peart kind of has that thing circling in their head, like one of the greatest drummers ever.
With Rush, everybody always talks about Neil Peart's drumming or Geddy Lee's bass playing, but Alex Lifeson's guitar riff in Spirit of the Radio is one of the most recognizable riffs of all time. I think the documentary that came out a couple of years ago was an important step for getting people to look at Rush differently. There was this sense, yeah, they have a lot of fans, they sell a lot of records, but I think, there are so many artists, the next generation of metal bands and industrial bands and the people who really look to them, who really look to Rush for inspiration. I think that resonated, whether specifically with Hall of Fame voters or just more generally in the music world. It was a different way to look at them.
What can you say? They deserve it.
Yeah, it's long overdue.
Yeah.
But I tell myself that I'ma do it alright. There's nothing left to do tonight but go crazy on you. Crazy on you.
It's been interesting, I don't know when it started, but in recent years to see that Seattle alt-rock grunge community stand up and say how important Heart were for them.
Their influence is that they made great rock music. Her voice is insane.
Nancy Wilson is a freaking great guitar player and never really got the credit that she should have. And Ann Wilson is still a fantastic vocalist, and they were a great band.
I think Heart does not get the credit due. All these girls that are out belting, Katy Perry, Pink, Kelly, all of us, any woman that's ever opened her mouth who sings a rock ballad owes it to the Wilson sisters. I'm so happy they were finally inducted because I felt like, okay, this is long overdue.
They kick ass. They kick
great.
A lot of rock guys that are in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame's ass, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
they're awesome.
Great.
And Ann just sings so good. I mean, what a great, unique, and wonderful voice.
It's so good, it's so good, it's so good, it's so good, it's so good.
Donna Summer and what we broadly term disco, at its best, really just kind of represented a kind of evolution of R&B, and I think she's a great rock and roll singer.
To make a 10-minute song like that, like I Feel Love, that nobody was doing that kind of stuff.
Disco is a hard thing for the Hall of Fame to make peace with, because you look at what it meant at the time and how disdainful the rock and roll world was, and the kind of impact that it had on music moving forward.
She absolutely is, the queen of disco, but she was able to go past that. There's records where she's meshing disco and rock and roll
disco obviously was hugely influential on all the dance music that we have now, but also on a lot of rock stuff. I mean, there's so many artists that have incorporated elements of what Giorgio Moroder was doing and, you know, vocally what she was doing. All that stuff was pretty pioneering and was actually doing something really different. Whether or not it was considered sort of artistic at the time, it actually was pretty trailblazing.
So who's going to get in next year? Nirvana's in the first time up. There's no question about it.
Nirvana, Green Day, Pavement. There's all these, you know, artists that are eligible that are almost definitely going to get in pretty quickly.
The Cure, the Smiths, Depeche Mode, the Replacements, Sonic Youth.
Who else has to make it next year is NWA.
I think with Rush getting in, I don't think we've heard the last of the argument about whether Kiss should be in. I happen to think Kiss should be in.
It's about contributions, it's about what people have brought in terms of influence, but a lot of it is just about bands that have sold a ton of records for a really long time.